Hello, internet. Back to the Hobbit hole because it's easier to set up camera in here. Okay. So, Bunky from Discs MD, is it Disc MD or Discs MD? I'm not sure. I think it's Discs. Did a video on bracing, kind of explaining some of his thoughts on why bracing is so important. And that kind of got me thinking about the way that I think about bracing, and I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and I haven't gotten to it. So thanks, Bunky, for the inspiration. Also, if you like my stuff, you will probably like his stuff. And this video came out a couple, 4 or 5 days ago, and it already has like 5K views, which is awesome. But he doesn't have that many subs yet. So like the math doesn't make sense to me. So point being, go sub to his stuff because he's cool and he puts up a bunch of cool videos out. And I think he does it like more consistently than I do. So nice work. Anyways, bracing. What is the point of bracing? The point of bracing is to, in my opinion, I think this is pretty defensible. The point of bracing is to convert momentum, linear momentum from the walk up, into rotational torque, primarily in your hips, that's transferred up your spine to your shoulders to your disc arm. So we're creating momentum with the walk up. We are translating that into torque with the brace using whipping mechanics. So how does that work? Like in Bunky's video, he talks about stopping a lot. You have to have this momentum. Can't talk. Sorry. Have to have momentum, and you have to stop to squeeze out momentum into the disc. Yes, accurate, but how? So I feel like the missing component there is how you create torque by stopping your momentum. It's you don't stop it, you stop part of it. So as a thought experiment, and you can do this to help you get an understanding of how physics works in your body. If I'm moving directly, linearly, sideways, and I stop myself directly, linearly, sideways. So I'm moving that way and I'm gonna put my foot that way. Boom, I stopped. Cool. Is that an effective way to throw a disc? No. Because there's some momentum here in my arm and I stop and some of that keeps going forward. That's not enough to throw 350, 400 feet, whatever. So that's kind of a fail. So if I'm shifting my weight directly towards my front foot, I just stop. And maybe my back foot picks up a little bit, maybe, it doesn't matter. What I'm gonna change then is I'm gonna keep my weight going that same direction. I'm gonna inch my foot forward. So I'm going this way. I am putting my foot there, which means I am off balance because my booty is going straight that way and my foot is not that way. So if I don't do anything else, I'm gonna fall backwards. Anything else is have a counterweight in your rear leg. So the second that I start shifting my weight, I keep shifting my weight directly that way, but I'm going to put my foot in front of that sideways vector. Then what I get is that I get a crumple zone in my hips. So when I try to stop myself with this foot, it makes my front hip clear towards the rear. Boom. And I end up in this shape that you see kind of baseball hitters get into when they boom, fall backwards. They're folding into the front hip to allow the pelvis to rotate while bracing and stopping on the front foot. So this is the part of what a pro level throw looks like and what a pro level brace looks like that I don't see anyone talking about. And it's like I've been frustrated about that for more than a year now. Like all the good channels have videos about bracing and they don't hammer this point in. At least it didn't, I didn't get it out of any of the videos that I watched. People like Seabass and folks on Disc Golf Course Review talk a lot about this phrase, clearing the front hip. And it's absolutely correct. And it to my knowledge, kind of came from ball golf, maybe baseball too. But like, I spent a very long time, like, clear the front hip. Okay, that seems like it's a magic thing, but what does it mean? So this is what clear the front hip means and how it works. Is if I just push on the ground, I'm using ground force to stop myself with my foot placement on my vector of weight shift. There is no clearing. My hip is just going to stop without any pelvis rotation. Once I put my foot toe side of my vector of weight shift, then when I push on the ground here, this hip is going to clear. It's going to move that way, which allows this hip to move that way, which allows my rear leg to counterweight, and I get this crumple zone thing. So another way to talk about the crumple zone is, I may introduce you to the Trebuchet graphics department a little bit later. So I'm here. I'm going to name my front foot 1, my front hip 2, my rear hip 3, and my rear foot 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all in order from this side to this side. Then I go to my brace, I load my front leg, I push down, resisting the ground, boom, and 2 and 3 switch sides. And now I have 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay, so that's a lot. Let's star wipe to the graphics department. Okay, welcome back. It was a short time for you, but a long time for me. You can see I've spared no expense with the graphics department. So here our camera angle is in front of the T-pad. We are watching Mr. Stick Figure Player throw the disc. And we see something like this. So this is 1 front foot, 2 front hip, 3 rear hip, 4 rear foot. So we are seeing the back pockets on a 45-degree angle. And then after the brace engages, the front leg fires, meaning the front knee straightens, the front quad fires, and the front hip clears, and 2 and 3 switch. And then you see something like this, where you're looking at the front pockets on a 45-ish degree angle, and the rear leg is still behind. So now you have front leg, front hip, rear hip, and rear foot. Note, there is a counterweight here. Number 4 does not immediately spin around this way. Okay, hello again. So, again, on a human, 1, 2, 3, 4 in order from right to left. And then after the brace happens, front knee extends, then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 3, 2, 4. So that's the magic thing that needs to happen. Again, the way to get a feel for it is just move sideways and stop, and then start moving your foot in front more and more. And this drill taken to an extreme is Seabass's whip step thing, where it's just a drill where he's having you step forward. So imagine I'm running forward, I have momentum, I'm going to stop on this foot. My rear hip is going to continue moving forward, and I'm going to come into that crumpling into the front hip position. So it's the same idea. You're just using momentum to create hip torque by stopping with ground force. So wind all this back up to why the heck do I have people spend so much time on one leg drills? Why do I see so much value there? It's because it teaches you this. So in a one leg drill, I am using momentum, sending that momentum down. So my only power generation is this way. Then my front leg positioning, toe 30 degrees back, leg locked, front leg not moving, not rotating, not extending. That's a stand-in for a good, active, strong brace. And so I have these two vectors, one that's straight up and one that's straight down. Those are opposed and in slightly different places, so they create torque in the pelvis. So that's a perfect stand-in for a dynamic brace. So I can learn kind of sort of what it feels like to get folded into this front hip, to learn that shape in a controlled environment where it's pretty easy to get it kind of sort of right. I can learn the front side of it here. Then I have to learn the back side of it and how to coil in a more dynamic or more structured environment. More on that later. But that's the point of the one leg drills, is they teach you how to get this hip crumple thing in a simple environment where you don't have to worry about accidentally going into horse stance or turning too far backwards or a million other problems that can happen. So with that in mind, loop back to the beginning of the one leg drills and just focus on learning that crumpling into the front hip position. You're just trying to get that figured out, and then you can do it in this drill and feel, okay, where do I have to put my foot to get not a stop, but get hip rotation to happen because I'm pushing on the ground and causing my hip to rotate. That was a bad demo. That is a counter effect of trying to do this without any momentum. You end up squishing the bug, which is not a thing we want to do. You want that foot to be de-weighted because you're moving dynamically. Yeah, so that's the thing that I want people to understand about how my drills work and how your hips should work in a high level throw. I feel like there's one other thing. I feel like I'm always forgetting something. So try one leg drills again, focusing on collapsing into that front hip and having that be your power source rather than opening off your back leg and throwing with the arm from there. I'm trying to get people to feel the power from the hips first, and then later you can add to that with the arm. Okay, stopped recording long enough to remember what I forgot. So the core idea of this is that I am suggesting you shift your weight behind your front foot. So your weight, which I think of as where my hips go, is actually going to be a couple inches towards the heel side of your brace foot. So what I see a lot of folks get wrong is they shift their weight directly onto the front foot. So my weight shift is in line with my front foot. So I'm shifting my weight on the stick and putting my foot on the stick. Then my rear side doesn't have anywhere to go. So if I'm here, both toes on the stick, and I'm shifting my weight that way, my rear leg can only go towards my front leg. And that's like in Bunkys' video, he showed a throw where he ends up like this with his knees knocking together. If you kick your leg through, if your leg scoops and swings around and you do a side kick and end up like taking a big step off the front of the T-pad, then this may be your problem. So the fix, I think, is getting on a one leg drill where your rear leg is behind you and learning to throw there with that leg counterbalancing and staying there while you throw. So the leg stays here. That way, when you move to a dynamic throw, your leg can drift behind you and balance. There's a bunch of force happening here where your disc arm is. You need something here to balance it. So high left and low right. Those are opposite quadrants. It creates balance. And then your momentum is actually able to get contained behind your brace, rather than if I shift my weight directly onto my brace, I have to spin past it in order to stay in balance. And then you don't get that redirection of linear momentum into hip torque, which is the whole point of bracing. So that's a little bit about like kind of my overarching theory of how, and the progression of how one legs actually matter, because they're teaching you this hip mechanic, specifically the front side. Then we have to go back and learn how to do the back side in like a one leg or in the standstill, where you can actually coil into that rear hip, because in a one leg you can't coil into the rear hip because it's floating. Anyways, hopefully that shed some light on what pros are actually doing with their hips and how to kind of sort of have a roadmap to get there. So hope that's useful. Please ask questions if you have any. Other good news, people have actually bought a couple of bags recently from my affiliate link with Upper Park Disc Golf. They are restocking their Shift and Rebel bags pretty soon, so the prices are going to inch up as they do that. So if you want to buy one, now's a good time before the prices go up anymore. So if you are one of the folks who has bought a bag with my link, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It actually does help keep the lights on here, so to speak. So that's one. I'll put my link in the blah blah down below. You can get 15% off of a new bag or any of their apparel or discs as well. And that 15% goes straight to me. That's number one. Number two is there's still lots of space on the Patreon. I'm really enjoying working with some folks on there. There's a couple of real dedicated folks that send me videos quite often. And I've recently had enough time to get back to them pretty quick and spend some more time on folks than I promised, which is always fun for me. So yeah, enjoying helping people out on there. So if you want some personalized form review coaching help, head on over to the Patreon and sign up. We'll put a link down below as well. All right, Internet, thank you so much if you made it this far. We'll see you next time.